Hello, this is Curtis, and today we're going to make a Bunny Castle Diorama out of cereal boxes, tissue paper, and printer paper. The supplies you're going to need for this project are the printer paper and some wax paper, some cereal boxes. You can also use some cracker boxes for the extra cardboard, and a variety of tissue paper, and a bottle of white glue, a flat-tipped brush, a ballpoint pen, and you also need a nice durable scissors, and then a jar that we're going to mix some of the glue with some water. For the diorama I made, I used a really large Puffin's cereal box, which was about 11 by 8 by 3, but I'm going to demonstrate using a smaller box to show you some of the techniques. First, close the box, and then on the one large side, create an oval for the opening. I usually go over the circle a few times to get the size I want. Then puncture a hole into the box with a ballpoint pen so you can get a scissors in and use the scissors to cut out to the circle and cut out the opening. Next, take your extra boxes and cut those open and cut each of the panels out as your flat material. Next, we're going to cut the material up into various sizes of squares, rectangles, and circles. So this is like creating your own set of building blocks so you can experiment with making lots of different types of castles before you decide on what your final castle is going to look like. One special shape I like to create is a classic castle-shaped window, which also doubles as a bunny ear shape. So I usually make a few of those as part of the kit of parts that we can use to experiment with making castles. Once you have all your parts cut out, you can start experimenting. This is like building with a set of blocks, and I recommend doing a number of variations and moving the pieces around and just playing with the composition of how the castle could come together. It could be tall or short and wide. You could have lots of circles. You could make it look more like a bunny like I did, or you could make it look more like a traditional castle. I chose to go with something really simple with just a small number of shapes that looks like a bunny castle. The next step is to take the pieces that you selected to use with the castle, and we're going to add a layer of white paper to give it a nice bright luminance, and then put the tissue paper on top of that. It's important to do the white paper because the tissue paper is transparent. So in order for it to be really bright, we need to have white paper underneath. So I first lay down some wax paper and then use a thin coat of white glue. I usually glue onto the printed side of the cereal box paper. And to make it really thin, which makes it stick better, is I take another piece of cereal box cardboard and use it as a spreader to spread the glue out really evenly on the cardboard. I then glue the cardboard to the paper, and you could do this, I'm just showing you one piece at a time. You could actually set all your pieces out onto a sheet of paper, but just to be sure to space them out about a half an inch apart, because you want about 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch of extra paper all along each piece, because we're going to wrap that around to the back so that the front and edges are all covered in the white paper. And next we're going to glue the edges of all the 4 sides and wrap, and then I spread them out with my finger to make it really thin, and then fold them over onto the sides. For pieces with curved edges, such as the circles or the castle windows, I go all the way around the edge and just put little cut notches so that little tabs of paper can be folded over easily. Next, we're going to add a tissue paper layer and add a little bit of extra texture or softness to the finish. I like to crunch the paper up and then smooth it out and then crunch it again a few times. I then tear up the tissue paper into small bits that can be overlaid on top of each other onto each part. I cover each part using a solution of about 50% water, 50% white glue, and then using a brush, putting a thin coat on both the front and the back of the piece. and then place down a series of tissue paper pieces, and then overlay those with more of the water glue solution to get them to stick down really firmly onto the panel. I then set those on a piece of wax paper to dry. Notice on this dried piece how there's a combinations of darks and lights that are created by the overlapping tissue. Note that after the pieces dry, they tend to warp or curve, but all you have to do is, once they're completely dry, is gently massage them back into a nice flat panel. Just be really gentle so you don't put any major creases in the piece. While those pieces are drying, the next step is to cover the entire diorama box with white paper inside and out, and then tissue paper inside and out. For the curved opening, to get the paper to wrap around smoothly, I cut little bits, or tear little bits of white paper and then glue them on individually to get a nice, smooth, curved edge. Once your box is completely dry, you can start adding in the different pieces that you've created and covered in tissue paper. For the castle, all the individual pieces need to be glued together and then let it dry before gluing it into the diorama. So once it's dry, turn it over and make a bracket for the back side. This will allow it to stand off the back of the diorama and create a shadow effect. For the eggs that sit in front of the diorama, I make the egg shape and then 3 circles to be glued together to make a base, and then 2 brackets that hold the egg. I then glued in an angled piece inside the bracket to create a post for the egg to be glued onto. I added paper dots to the eggs and then overlaid those dots with a layer of tissue paper to soften them. Once all the pieces are dry, you can arrange them into a nice display. They work really well on a shelf that's at eye level, so you can look directly into the diorama. If you like this video, please click the like button below, as well as subscribing and leaving a comment. All those things help other people discover this video. You can find more videos at playingwithartshow.com.